girls. So today we're going to learn about Ruby Bridges. Can somebody look at this picture and maybe guess what the story is about or who Ruby Bridges was? Go ahead, Owen. Need help? Someone want to help him out? Just look at the picture, right? We see everybody in the back and her. Go ahead, Hudson. She is famous. Go ahead, Kobe.
She's black and the others are white.
Yes, she is the only black African American little girl, and all the other whites are in the back. Okay? So we're going to read about Ruby Bridges. She was the first African American little girl to go to an all-white school when they started to try to end segregation. Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Ruby Bridges was born in a small cabin near Tylertown, Mississippi. We were very poor, very, very poor, Ruby said. My daddy worked picking crops. We just barely got by. There were times when we didn't have much to eat. Then people who owned the land were bringing machines to pick the crops. So my daddy lost his job. And that's when we had to move. I remember us leaving. I was 4, I think. In 1957, the family moved to New Orleans. Ruby's father became a janitor. Her mother took care of the children during the day. After they were tucked in bed, Ruby's mother went to work, scrubbing floors in a bank. Every Sunday, the family went to church. We wanted our children to be near God's Spirit, Ruby's mother said. We wanted them to start feeling close to Him from the very start. At the time, black children and white children went to separate schools in New Orleans. The black children were not able to receive the same education as the white children. It wasn't fair, and it was against the nation's law. In 1960, a judge ordered 4 black girls to go to a white elementary school. 3 of the girls were sent to McDon. 6-year-old Ruby Bridges was sent to 1st grade in the William France Elementary School. So she was sent to, what grade are you in? What grade did Ruby Bridges get sent to? That's kind of a connection, huh? Ruby's parents were proud with their daughter that their daughter had been chosen to take a part in an important event in American history. They went to church. We sat there and prayed to God, Ruby's mother said, that we'd all be strong and we'd have courage and we'd get through any trouble. And Ruby would be a good girl and she'd hold her head up high and be a credit to her own people and a credit to all the American people. We prayed long. We prayed hard. On Ruby's first day, a large crowd of angry white people gathered outside the France Elementary School. The people carried signs that said they didn't want black children in a white school. People called Ruby names. Some wanted to hurt her. The city and state police did not help Ruby. The President of the United States ordered federal marshals to walk with Ruby into the school building. The marshals even had to carry guns. Would you be scared if someone had to walk you down the hallways all the time? You think Ruby's feeling a little nervous about having to go to school? Yeah, I do too. Every day for weeks that turned into months, Ruby experienced that kind of school day. She walked to the France school surrounded by marshals, wearing a clean dress and a bow in her hair, carrying her lunch pail. Ruby walked slowly for the first few blocks. As Ruby approached the school, she saw a crowd of people marching up and down the street. Men and women and children shouted at her. They pushed towards her. The marshals kept them away from Ruby, but they had to threaten to arrest them. Ruby would hurry through the crowd and not say a word. The white people in the neighborhood would not send their children to school. When Ruby got inside the building, she was all alone, except for her teacher, Mrs. Henry. There were no other children to keep Ruby company, to play with, to learn with, to eat lunch with. But every day, Ruby went into that classroom with a big smile on her face, ready to get down to business of learning. She was polite, and she worked well at her desk. Mrs. Henry said she enjoyed her time there. She didn't seem nervous or anxious or irritable or scared. She seemed as normal and relaxed as any other children she's taught. So Ruby began learning how to read and write in an empty classroom in an empty building. Sometimes I'd look at her and wonder how she did it, said Mrs. Henry. How she went by those mobs and sat here all by herself, and yet seemed so relaxed and comfortable. Mrs. Henry would question Ruby in order to find out if the girl was really nervous and afraid, even though she seemed so calm and confident. But Ruby kept saying she was doing fine. The teacher decided to wait and see if Ruby would keep on being relaxed and hopeful, or if she'd gradually begin to wear down, or even decide that she no longer wanted to go to school. Raise your hand if you would be sad if you were at school all by yourself. No one to play with, no one to eat lunch with. That'd be sad, right? You wouldn't want to come to school if it was just you, huh?
I would.
You would?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I love seeing all your faces. You think I would come every day to sit in empty class? No way. I love to see everybody. The one morning, something happened. Mrs. Henry stood by a window in her classroom, as she usually did, watching Ruby walk toward the school. Suddenly, Ruby stopped. Right in front of the mob of howling and screaming people, she stood there, facing all those men and women. She seemed to be talking to them. Mrs. Henry saw Ruby's lips moving and wondering what Ruby would be saying. The crowd seemed ready to hurt her. The marshals were frightened. They tried to persuade Ruby to move along. They tried to hurry her into school, but Ruby wouldn't budge. Then Ruby stopped talking and walking into the school. When she went into the classroom, Mrs. Henry asked her what happened. Mrs. Henry told Ruby that she had been watching and that she was surprised when Ruby stopped and talked to the people in the mob. Ruby became irritated. I didn't stop and talk with them, she said. Ruby, I saw you talking, Mrs. Henry said. I saw your lips moving. I wasn't talking, said Ruby. I was praying. I was praying for them. Every morning, Ruby had stopped a few blocks away from school to say a prayer for those people who hated her. This morning, she forgot until she was already in the middle of an angry mob. When school was over for the day, Ruby hurried through the mob as usual. After she walked a few blocks and the crowd was behind her, Ruby said the prayer she repeated twice a day, before and after school. Please God, forgive those people, even if they say those bad things. They don't know what they're doing, so you could just forgive them. Just like you did those folks a long time ago, when they said terrible things about you. And then this is just more about Ruby Bridges. And then look, on the back, this is what Ruby Bridges looks like now. So this is her, she was a little kid. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, okay? I'm gonna ask you, do you think Ruby Bridges was scared?
No.
You don't think no? Raise your hand if you think yes, she was scared to go. Can someone tell me why do you think she was scared to go? Go ahead, Hannah, why do you think she was scared?
Because there was no black black or brown people and only white people.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kaya.
It's because
She was alone. That's scary, right? Can you think of something else, Hudson? Go ahead.
everybody hated her.
Everybody hated her, so she was scared to go to school. It doesn't feel good when people don't like you, huh? And nobody liked Ruby Bridges. Now, raise your hand if you think Ruby Bridges was brave. If you think she was brave for doing what she did. I think she was. Can you tell me why you think she's brave, Liam?
Because the second time she went there, she wasn't scared at all.
She wasn't scared. Exactly. Go ahead, Zach. Why was she brave?
I think she was a little bit brave because in the end she had a frown on her face.
Yeah. Okay. She did have a frown. Go ahead, Andrew.
I think she was like brave because like she wasn't talking. She was ignoring and like she was just doing her normal thing.
Yeah.
And going to school.
Exactly.
Like nothing happened.
Exactly. Ruby Bridges woke up every day and she went to school. She knew people didn't want her there. She knew kids weren't going to be there, but what did she do? She went every day to school and she didn't let nobody stand in her way. That's brave, right? So now that we've learned about this amazing Ruby Bridges and she showed us that we can do anything. We can do anything if we just put our minds to it. We can go anywhere, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do today is I wanna hear about you guys being brave. Can anyone tell me a time they were brave? Mecca, your first day of school, you were brave. Were you nervous to come to school? You weren't nervous, but you were brave. You were excited. It was a new school, right? This was your first time at Mountain View Elementary School. So you were brave when you came here. Ready to meet and make friends? So Mecca was brave on the first day of school. Nevaeh, how were you brave?
I was brave when I saw my brother's lizard.
You were brave when you saw your lizard. I'm scared of lizards, so you know what? That is brave. I don't think I could touch a lizard.
I wish I touched the lizard.
Go ahead, Hannah.
I was brave when I had to put a snake on my.
Guys, Hannah's talking. We can't hear
I
her.
was brave when I had to put a snake on my neck.
That's bravery, because I could never do that. Okay, I'd love to hear about all of them, but instead of telling me it all, we are going to write about a time we were brave. You're going to write, I was brave when, and I'll write it on the board for you so you can copy those words, and then you'll write about it, okay? And what do you think you're going to do in this area?
Oh,
Draw a picture. I want to see you being brave, right? Don't just write about it. I want to see it, okay? Sound like a plan? Sound like something we can do? Thumbs up? Okay, awesome. Alrighty. I'm gonna have, who is it again this week? James, pick a friend and come pass it out. You're good now, Miss Amy.